My name is Betsy Bennett, and I am a sophomore at Harvard College studying psychology and government. It is my honor to introduce Amari Stoudemire, an American-Israeli former professional basketball player and now coach. As a native New Yorker, I know him well from his days playing with the Knicks. Amari was the 2003 NBA Rookie of the Year and is a six-time NBA All-Star. After retiring from the NBA in 2016, Amari spent several years playing basketball in Israel. In 2020, he was the Israeli Basketball Premier League Finals MVP, helping lead Maccabi Tel Aviv to a championship. Amari, thank you so much for being here with us today. So let's start at the beginning. You were born in Polk County, Florida. You moved to New York at a young age. Tell us what your early life was like.
Well, for me, my early life began when I was, obviously I grew up in Florida, and I moved to New York in the third grade. And so I had a beautiful, beautiful, fun lifestyle in New York, and then I moved back to Florida for high school.
And so while you started to have this upward trajectory with basketball and your athleticism, and from the age of 11 to 12, you also started to have this upward trajectory, reconnecting to Judaism and the Bible. So can you tell us a little bit about this? How did this begin?
Yeah, I mean, my family was all very, very religious. And so I went to church every Sunday and so forth, growing up. And so it was always a fundamental understanding of keeping the commandments, even when I was a Christian growing up. And so over time, my mom, husband, and her both were mentioning that we should reconnect with the laws of Moses. And that's when my religious journey somewhat took a more of a precise turn.
Interesting. Okay. And so you continue on this path and you ultimately get drafted right out of high school. You're the 9th pick overall. And this is something that wasn't so popular at the time. So, and your whole life really changes because of this. So can you tell us, what was that like for an 18-year-old Amari?
Well, I mean, again, going to the NBA out of high school was a crazy new concept, a new world. Only a few players were able to go to the NBA out of high school. I was just in my high school prom the year that time before, and I was just graduating and entering into a new world of NBA basketball. And I was surrounded by these basketball greats that I was starting to play against. And I was only 18 years old at the time, and it was an amazing, amazing time in my life when I got a chance to experience that moment.
Wow. Yeah, and that must have been incredible. And so you have all this amazing success. You're the Rookie of the Year. But before you decided to move to Israel, you had visited on several occasions. So where did your first exposure and interest come from? And what were those trips like?
Yeah, so I was learning Torah for a while as 18 years old, actually, in the NBA. I was still learning biblical learning, and I was learning history. And I was on this path of trying to connect history with the Torah and so I was on that phase for a while, really trying to dissect it from a historical standpoint. And then I started to learn more about Judaism once I met a close friend of mine who introduced me to Judaism and the traditions there, which was very helpful along my path.
And so how did you decide that it was time to retire from the NBA and move on? Was there a certain moment or trigger that motivated you?
Yeah, I mean, I played 14 years. And I didn't want to be the kind of player who somewhat is about to retire and kind of somewhat begging other teams to sign them and try to prove yourself that you still can play. I don't want to go that route of just trying to play basketball. So I decided to take my interest to a place where I not only wanted to go and learn, but I also want to live there. And while I'm still very healthy, I want to play there. And then that led me to moving to Israel.
That makes sense. So, right, like you said, when you retire, you're 33 years old, you're a 6-time All-Star. You could have gone anywhere in the world. So why specifically did you choose to play in Israel? And even more specifically, why did you choose to play in Jerusalem?
Well, Jerusalem to me is the best city in the world. There's the only city in the world that I gravitate to at the highest level. So that was very important for me just to be there in the land. And then for me to not only be there, but to then pray and then connect with the culture, connect with the historical values of the land, and to not only not only that, but then to win for Jerusalem, and then to put Jerusalem on like a world map, from a pop culture standpoint, from a basketball standpoint. I wanted to do that, and that's what gave me the motivation to even step down from the NBA to then go to Israel and play for Jerusalem.
And, you had massive success in Israel. You were one of the biggest celebrities in the country. But something we often talk about, as college students is imposter syndrome, feeling like you don't belong somewhere, even when so much is going well. So did you ever have imposter syndrome? What was that transition like, changing your whole world around and operating in an environment of Orthodox Jewry that doesn't really have so many ex-NBA All-Stars?
Yeah, for sure. I never heard that term before, but yeah, I think there is moments where you feel like, well, am I doing the right thing? I need to learn more. I need to understand what's happening. My life is changing. I'm not hanging around the same friends. I don't like having the same conversations. I'm not dressing completely the same anymore. What's going on? And so that definitely happens when you're learning and when you're changing your life. So you do have those moments of like what's going on with me. But as you continue to stay focused, as you continue to speak with your family and your friends and your loved ones who know who you are, and give you that confidence to continue to learn and keep pushing forward, that helps you get over that syndrome, for say.
And now we do have to ask about the wine company. So for those who don't know, can you tell us the story of Stoudemire Wines? How did that get started?
So years ago, I used to travel around the world. I used to travel around Europe and to travel around different parts of the world and do a lot of food and wine tasting, right? And so I had this penthouse in New York City in Manhattan, and I used to have these nice dinner parties and invite all my celebrity friends over. We just taste wine and have a nice dinner party. And one of my buddies who provided most of the wine at the time for me mentioned to me one day, he's like, "Hey man, you should probably have your own wine, bro. You love it so much. You should, start something." And sure enough, as time went on, I was able to make those connections and build the relationships with my friends in Israel to create the Stoudemire Wines.
And did I see that you have some with you right now? Can we see?
Yeah. Oh yeah. This is my evening rosé. This is Clarity. This is the rosé bottle. This is Clarity, and it's from Pasos Robles, California. And this is from the Herzog family out of California. Make Mahadra kosher wines.
And can you tell us, for those who want to purchase, where should we go?
So you can go to StoudemireWines.com, and you can look on the website. You can purchase whatever you like.
Amazing. And we also know that you changed your name. So we were curious, like, what's the story behind that? What was the meaning there?
Yeah, my name, my mom gave me is Amari Stoudemire, right? Which is still my name, but I think when I was going through my conversion process, I wanted the Jewish name, and I asked my Kavus at the time to name me. I need a Jewish name. I want you to name me. I don't want to name myself. And so he went back, thought about it for a few days, and came back to me and said, Yehoshaphat. And I was like, okay. Okay. I don't know who Yehoshaphat was. I had no recollection of who he was at the time. And I had to go learn about it. Basically, I had to go learn and figure out, who Yehoshaphat was, and that's how it happened.
Tell us about the decision to move out of Israel. So what motivated that? And, what does it mean to you to now be a Jew living in the diaspora? Like, has your relationship to your Judaism and Israel changed?
Yeah, so being back in the States, I just need my routine of how I learn and where I pray. And so once I have my routine of that, then I can live anywhere in the world. So that's how I look at it. You always have to keep, positive friends around to keep your mindset focused on the things that you want to accomplish. Other than that, it's pretty simple. Now in Israel, it's magnified because you have everything you need at a multiple level status, right? For me, learning is quintessential. So when I'm in Israel, I can learn on an all-day basis, like from 8 a.m. till 12 p.m. I can learn. You know what I'm saying? I can just meet up with friends and we sit down at the coffee shop and we open up the books and we start learning. Or I can meet, some guys at, anywhere. We just learn, go for a walk and read. In Israel, it's a total different level for learning, right? In the States, it's not as pronounced. That's the only difference for me.
That's interesting. So it's much more like prescribed.
Yeah, exactly.
And then talk to us about playing basketball in Israel versus in America. Is the play style different? Like, how was it transitioning from one league to the next? And like, how does that experience playing in Israel help you now as a coach in the NBA?
Playing in Israel was transcending for me because first of all, no one even really knew that there was a league in Israel.
Right.
It was like, well, why are you going to Israel? You can go anywhere. It's like war there, And so for me, I was kind of on a courageous move by not wanting to just play, okay, in the NBA is great, but I wanted to play in Israel and to give Israel like my healthy years of playing. I don't want to go there like 42, 43 and like, oh, I can still score 10 points a game and I can just kind of make my way around. No, I want to go to Israel and dominate, the game like I've always done. You know what I'm saying? So I want to show the people of Israel this talent. So that was like a courageous move on my side to leave the NBA after 14 years to go overseas and play. And going from like private planes to now taking the bus, 5-star hotels to maybe 2-star hotels, you know what I'm saying? So it was definitely a humbling experience for me, which I wanted that humbling experience.
And, this isn't the first time you've spoken at an Israel summit. You were actually at the inaugural Israel summit at Harvard back in 2018. And we know you're incredibly busy. So why is speaking at this event and talking to college kids of all backgrounds about Israel important to you?
Well, it's important. It's important for me to get the diversity out there, because when I was in Israel, I've came across so many different cultures that are Jewish. I had Shabbat dinners with Yemenite family, with a Yemenite family out of Rishon. I was with a Moroccan family. I was with an Italian family. I was with the English family from London. I mean, it's just so many different diverse communities, and for me, it's important for me to show diversity at the summit. And last time I was actually at the summit at the inaugural one was when I was promoting Stat Academy. I was promoting Stat Academy, online college curriculum that teaches the diaspora, the children of Israel, where the diaspora was happening, the lost tribes of Israel. And I launched that at the first Israel summit, which is a full circle deal for me.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And I totally agree with what you were saying about just the different forms of Jewish people that you can come across and just sharing that with the world. I think I've had that experience as well, just going to Israel and seeing that. It's really amazing.
Yeah.
So our last question, you have tens of thousands of college students around the world tuning in live to listen to you speak. If you could send one message directly to the students watching, what would you say and why?
I would say probably the most important piece of advice I would give to them will be is like being able to focus on your fundamental principles of who you are as a person and be able to enjoy life around that. Right? That's the key. You find out who you are as a person, and then you can enjoy the world outside of that. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's how I do it. And that's the best way to do it, if you ask me.
I really like that. Thank you. Well, clearly it's worked well for you. Well, thank you so much. This is truly such an amazing opportunity. Thank you for speaking to all of us. It was really an honor.
No problem. Thanks for having me.